Welcome back, climbers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bartlett Arborist Supply YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and then of course the hundreds and hundreds of videos on this YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about these DMM Kinisi harnesses. We're going to do a brief overview on these incredible harnesses from Denny Morehouse Mountaineering, and we're going to talk today about the Air, the Pro, and then just in a little bit the Key harnesses. If you have any questions about the Max or wanted to get a little bit more info on the Max harness, make sure you check out Abden's review video of his harness setup. So thank you for tuning in. I wanted to start off with my harness, the Kinesi Air. The reason why I chose this harness is I am a very short individual. I'm probably 5'6", 5'7", so there's not a whole lot of room here on my torso, and I found it to be very restricting with some of the other harnesses. If I was to move into a size medium, which is what I would wear in a Pro or a Max, it occupies the entire area up into my rib cage, and I don't have a lot of maneuverability. Now that's my issue. With a lot of harnesses, the fit and function, depending on your body style, is always going to be different. So it's always best to kind of, peruse around, choose which one you think is going to work best for you, for the type of work you do, and how you do that work. So I'm a very motion high, very maneuverable individual in the tree. I don't have those really long arms that I can just reach out to another dimension and grab out onto limbs and maneuver around well. So I have to be very animated when I'm in a tree. So I need something that's a little bit slimmer profile. So if you wanted to take the Pro and the medium, you can already tell that there is a huge profile difference between these two, which is why I kind of went towards the Air, is it has that real slim profile, and it really suits my climbing, that kind of rugged, just power to move around type stuff. Years of residential work, it's kind of hard to get out of that sometimes, so I really just try and power through. I have, a very meticulous climbing style, and I'm very methodical, but there are times that it's just power through it. So on my harness, the Kinesi Air, it comes with a double bridge setup straight out of the factory, and then again with these slimmer profile padding. So the leg padding width on these is roughly 6 inches, and then the profile height at the back of the waist at its max size is going to be about 7 inches. Towards the ends here, right around where your hip positioning rings are, I'm right around 5 inches. So that's a really nice fit for my tiny little body and my little T-Rex arms. And some of the things that I carry on my harness. So my lanyard configuration here is going to be dependent really on the job that I am doing. Depending on if I'm doing removals, if I'm doing like a lot of finate pruning or really meticulous pruning, I'll switch out to a different type of lanyard, just really dependent on the job that I'm going with. What I have on here right now is a chunk of kalimba, 10 millimeter Teufelberger Epi cord in the Catalone. Works really nice, grabs really simple. There's not a whole lot of sit back, especially because I'm using these a lot smaller DMM carabiners on here. I stow my lanyards on these clips because it's just easy on, easy off. I don't have to think about it. I'm not reaching to flick around. If you've never seen that before, I highly recommend you try and get one of these accessory tool holders from any of the companies, Camp, Petzl, DMM. They all have these really fantastic. Courant has a couple as well. They all pretty much function the exact same way, and it's just a really nice spin it off, clip in, and then when you go to stow it, you just slap it in there. It stays set. It's really nice. Again, my harness is going to have a little bit of variability depending on the work that I'm doing. The one thing that generally remains the same is I do carry an aerial rescue kit. or what I consider an aerial rescue kit, which is a old school hitch climber pulley that has individual rated beckets, and the pulley's actually rated on this one. I have one of these Skylo Tech, the omnidirectional gates, where I can open it either direction. So that way, obviously in an aerial rescue, you're kind of, a little bit jittery, so you try and mitigate any issues that might apply there. And then I also have a really high tensile Dyneema sling that's rated for like 40 kN, so that way I can create a hard connection between myself and the individual up in the tree. A lot of this is really spun off of competition stuff, because we need to create that hard connect between the injured individual and then ourselves. The pulley is used for tending their Prusik system, if they are on a Prusik system. I will apply this up above their hitch and then use my lanyard, and as I descend, it'll drag their system down and I can cradle them with multiple positions and then, take care of their injuries. Again, competition stuff. I've never had to do an aerial rescue out in the field, and I hope you never will either. That's just not something we want to go about. The old rusty tried and true, it's not rusty, but the Rock Exotica Akimbo, I like this just because it's really small, compact, and I can create a double tie-in real quick, or I can switch on and off of something very fast. It allows me to open it up, slide it on, and I can do a little bit more when I'm up in the tree. Maybe I'm climbing sappy spruce, pine, something along that lines, and I need something else up there. I'll kind of forego my general, I'll forego my general Prusik setup. I have a small Omni 1-1 here with another webbing sling, and I will use this to create essentially mechanical advantage, so like a double whip. For very small limbs. So if we're doing something over top of a house or a shed and it's not anything big in diameter, it's just small stuff, but it's just too much to haul, it needs to get lifted, so I can create double whip tackle out of that. Obviously, refer to that rope video that I did, working load limits, because that is going to really kind of dictate the type of gear you use in a rigging scenario. I also have my Teufelberger friction saver, the Fimble Climb, Fimble Saver, the smaller diameter one. Love this thing. It's very, very durable. Not to mention, I have never got this stuck in a union. I generally always keep this Apex on for when I'm climbing SRS, excuse me. And I love that just because of the durability of it, adjustability of it, to be able to open this up, change this bollard out, or change the cam to a different friction setting depending on the rope I'm using or depending on the types of climbing I'm doing. So that suits my needs. I also have a crick on my harness for creating scams for SRS. If I ended up getting to an area and I realized that it's a little bit too much for me to try and handle single rope, I'm going to load too much and I need to have that mechanical advantage like as you would in a moving rope system to come back. So that really just kind of gives me that quick option to create a scam. Check out the videos on redirects also. You will get a lot of information out of those. The other basic components on this harness are going to consist of cinching clasps on your waist and your leg loops, which wasn't necessarily ideal for me. I do like the Cobra buckles, but I just had a really hard time trying to move around in one of these, and I don't mind this. This is still very comfortable. It's light. I can put a lot of gear on this harness, and it really allows me to function well up in a tree, a lot like the harness that I used to climb on. I'm sure you've seen a couple of the other videos where I was climbing on the New Tribe Onyx, and honestly, I have been on New Tribe harnesses and saddles since like 2001, 2002. I have always climbed with New Tribe, so it was kind of devastating for me when the company went under. I was thinking about moving to a monkey beaver saddle, which at one point in time, New Tribe did help produce with the input of August Haneke. But as that company went under, August took over the entire kind of production of that harness. And I wanted to try something different. I didn't want to be stuck in my old ways. I'm very progressive, so I kind of wanted to try something different. And I tried the Notch, I tried the Teufelberger, I tried the Petzl, I tried the Pros and the Maxes, and this is where I landed. Again, suits my needs perfectly. Love this harness. It really allows me to function well up in a tree, just as I did with my older harness. Now, moving on to the Pro harnesses. The big main difference between these is you have a full spec saddle, full spec harness. And when I say full spec, I mean they did not cut any corners on the materials added to this. All the fixins are here. The big main difference between this and the Max is going to be the non-adjustable bridges here. But aside from that, everything else is there. You'll get a couple tool holders in the bag when you order your DMM harness. And then the other thing I wanted to mention here too is profile differences. So on the edge of the large, which is what I have here in front of me, I'm right around 7.5 inches on this edge where it would be over here on your waist. And then in the back pad area, I am roughly 9.5 inches. Now when we move over to the medium, we are going to be almost the same, about 6 3/4 of an inch, so almost 7 inches like you would have here. And then the back area, dead center, you're at 9 inches. So it gets a little bit smaller. When you move over to the small harness, the size difference really plays in. And on the edges here, by your hip positioning rings, you're only at about 5.5, 5 3/4 of an inches. And then the back pad, top to bottom, is about 7 1/4, 7.5 inches. So they really took their time to kind of fit each saddle uniquely so that way it functions properly instead of just having one size back pad and then just changing the diameter or the circumference of it. They really modified each one to function well depending on the size that you are purchasing. The other features on this are going to be all of these pads are removable and washable. They got a nice durable Velcro on here, so you can take these off and wash them. Make sure you are reading your user manual. All of the necessary information is in there on these components. They have these elastic keeper straps, which I've seen guys not use them, and at first I wasn't using them, and I noticed that if I did not attach these, my leg pads would slide up and they wouldn't sit back down. They just kept riding up, which is kind of reverse for what I thought was going to happen. So I started using these, and actually they stay down, and I didn't have to cinch them down tight. They're still kind of loose, but they stayed down on my leg instead of riding up in that area where you don't want them to be. The other features on these are a lot of these components are replaceable. So if you have wear in the webbing over the course of time where it runs through these front ventral rings here, there can be fraying. At that point, you can buy the replacement webbing. And again, it's in here on how to replace it. The bridges. The bridges are not, so excuse me, let me go back to this. This harness is good for 10 years from the date of manufacture. You can find that date of manufacture between this back pad and the attachment point back here. It'll give you the size and a bunch of other information as well as the date of manufacture. So they're stating with normal usage, this harness is good for 10 years, maximum, and that is with very good care, replacement of wear items, and making sure that you are inspecting it on a daily basis every climb. The bridges are not good for 10 years. In most cases, the bridges are a wear item that is per user. I know guys that go through bridges quite often, and what they deem here as a replaceable time frame on this is when you see fraying, or if you have picked strands or any missing or cut strands. At that point, it is an immediate replacement needed on these bridges here. At very least, you should be replacing them every year. The harnesses feature the very, very high-end T60, 61 aerospace grade aluminum forged on all of their areas here, so it's really high-end. The anodizing on them are very good. That's very durable. It's what we've came to know from DMM. Check your manual as far as replacements on those, because these are also wear items along with the webbing. And then the other thing is they've really kind of redesigned these positioning rings here. They have a very unique shape to them, and they also rotate. So depending on how you're positioning up in a tree, you know, if you're inverted, if you're slung over to your side, if you're in this really crazy spot, this is going to allow this area to move and be very functional and not be a pinch point. The other features on this is right up here at the top on all of these harnesses, they have these non-PPE, so just like a chest harness attachment area, which can also return back to this. So again, non-PPE, so that's not for fall arrest. You can't put a chest harness on there for like rope access and expect this to be PPE. This is just to attach their series or another series of chest harnesses to help you tend slack as you're climbing up the rope. But again, a very ingenious design on utilizing that space and not just kind of wasting areas. Excuse me. The adjustability on these harnesses. So you have obviously your waist loops with the Cobra buckles. They have adjustment straps on either side, so that way you can move the buckle off to either side when you tighten it down, and it doesn't have to be like dead center in you and like pinching you. You can move it side to side. The bridge area adjustment that comes off of your lying ring here that rotates, this can also be adjusted closer to you or farther away from you. And what that's going to allow you to do is, if it's tightened way up, you'll sit it into like a vertical L shape, 90 degrees, and then if you loosen it up, you kind of get back into more of a neutral position, like a 45, where you are kind of utilizing the leg strap or the leg pads and the waist pads in unison, and it allows you to be more comfortable and more just kind of versatile when you're up in the tree. And then obviously the leg loops, they have adjustability as well. One of the other things I wanted to take time to talk about on this is going to be your attachment point back here. There has been a couple guys that have stated green is PPE, and that is not the case. Do not take green as life support. So your hip rings here, these are for work positioning. They're actually not meant to be used in suspension, and that is all in your manual if you read it. This is meant for work positioning. You can utilize your forward ventrals or your bridges, and that is sufficient for personal life support. This, in the manual, states that it is a restraint attachment, but more so they list it as being a convenient area to terminate your chainsaw lanyard. And in this manual, this is 26 pounds is your maximum load limit on this. So please do not take green as being life support. This is just a very convenient area for you to attach a restraint line. So if you're into other forms of climbing, not necessarily arboriculture, or this is a really nice way to stow your lanyard in the back, so that way you're not cluttering up your useful areas that are quick to access here. These harnesses, moving on over to the medium here, same setup all the way around, smaller profile. These harnesses are meant to sit in your waist area, so 50% below your hips, 50% up here on your waist. They're not meant to be farther down where it's more towards on your butt area, and it's not meant to be a corset up here in your rib cage. They're meant to be fitted kind of 50-50 back and forth. So with each harness, obviously the sizing is going to play a difference on whether if you have a lot of winter clothes on. So if you're kind of on that borderline in between two and you experience seasonal weather like we do here, it might be more, you might be more apt to move up to just the size larger, just so that way you can fit the harness properly in your waist area the way it is supposed to be. The other nice thing about these harnesses is the ability to adjust them and make it function properly for you no matter what size you are tending to be in. So you can adjust all of those pieces just like I said in the manual, and it's very comfortable. DMM does a very, very good job at creating these very versatile, very legitimate saddles that will allow you to be a better climber in the tree. And the harness is the one thing. I mean, you can buy carabiners and they can be different price ranges, but essentially your carabiner has to be life support. I mean, obviously your harness has to be life support, but the harness is the one thing that really kind of makes or breaks you as a climber when you spend that money. Is it going to be a better for me type money purchase? And with these harnesses, just as I chose the Kinesi Air, it is a wise choice. You will be more comfortable and able to position, do more, less fatigue, and then being able to replace the parts and get maximum lifespan out of them is obviously something that we always kind of want to go for. So these DMM Pro harnesses, as well as the Key, the Max, and the Air, are really thought out. Now let's take a moment to take a look at the Kinesi Key harnesses. By the way, if you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. Again, Abden is always pushing out killer content. We've got Pete on there, Cody, Dominic. These guys are putting out some great information, so please like and subscribe. Check out the other stuff. As far as the Key lineups, these are going to be a basic saddle. They're not going to be a full spec such as the Pro and the Max. The features between them, so obviously the padding is going to be the same across all of the lines. The bridge material, the same across all the lines. The super, super good DMM hardware, the same across all the lines. And then as far as the configuration for all your gear brackets here that are also on the leg pads, these are all gear brackets down here, the 5mm holes. And then up here we have 5 and 10mm holes to attach either the stowaways, or as you saw on my harness, there's like a whole bunch of different areas that I remotely attach things to. That is going to be the same across the line. The main difference here is we're going to go to the buckle style, where it cinches down just like the Air saddle has. These only feature one bridge from the factory. However, they do have the forward ventrals that contain the enlarged hole, so that way you can put a second bridge on there. There is no hardware ring on the keys. Just like the Air, the Pro and the Max, again, this is not PPE. This has a 26-pound limit, and this is great for your lanyard, saw lanyard attachment, not your climbing lanyard, your saw lanyard attachment. This carriage assembly for your lower riser here still has the same pivot, featuring the non-life support attachment areas for your chest harness to keep everything up. As far as lightweight durability, it's the same. All the harnesses, all of them from the Kinesi line are going to be lightweight and extremely durable. 10 years from the date of manufacturing is the maximum lifespan on all of their harness, and that is per user, right? Everybody climbs a little bit differently. Everybody's a little bit harder on stuff, so that harness might not reach that 10-year point. The other thing is the sizes, again, are going to coincide. The width of the padding is going to change between small, medium, and large, so that way you have maximum comfort and maneuverability. But as far as these go, we're basically just taking the Pro or the Max, and we're going to take off some of the full spec features, such as the adjustable bridge or the dual bridges. We're going to lose that piece of hardware back there, but everything else is going to be the same. And again, if you purchase one of these, take a moment to read this. All of the information for either A, maintenancing, replacing, or just general knowledge of your harness is all going to be in here. Denny Morehouse Mountaineering, DMM, always putting out these absolutely stellar products. This is probably the most comfortable harness on the market today and reasonably affordable, considering that they make this line from the Key to the Air, to the Pro, to the Max. So whatever type of climbing and whatever you're looking for out of a harness, I'm sure the DMM Kinesi line is going to suit your needs. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comments down below. And of course, we're always here at Bartlett Arborist Supply at the warehouse, the showroom. You can always call up, talk to Abden or I. We can always get you the info if we're around. And furthermore, like, subscribe, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and then obviously the hundreds and hundreds of videos on this YouTube channel you're watching right now. We appreciate you here from Bartlett Arborist Supply. Stay safe out there, climbers, and make sure you're having fun. DMM Kinesi harnesses are available.